I walked into that doctor's office like terrified. Obviously, it was 5 days before my flight to Vegas. I didn't know if I'd be able to get on that flight. I didn't know if I'd be competing at the Olympia. I didn't know if I'd be bodybuilding ever again, because I literally didn't know what I was expecting to hear. Okay, what's up YouTube? I know it's been a while since I made a video, and this video is kind of something I've been waiting a long time to make, waiting a long time to talk about. Just discussing what went down in my prep that I didn't talk about. I had some issues, some complications that I've told some people, I've hinted at on Instagram and whatnot, but I didn't want to talk about any of it before the show because I didn't want that kind of unneeded attention. I didn't want to come to the show as an excuse of why I'm not going to be 100%. I just kind of had to buckle down, kind of keep it all to myself and get through it, essentially. But it was not an easy prep, to say the least. So I'm going to try and explain to you guys what I went through. And it might be long and lengthy, so if you don't want to listen, then that's okay. But yeah, here it goes. So obviously I've talked and kind of said I wasn't 100% at this show. People saw I wasn't as crisp, I wasn't as detailed as I was last year. Didn't look as lean, like I was holding water, which was exactly the case. And it's because I was diagnosed with IgA disease, essentially during this prep. It's something that I've had my whole life, but we didn't know what it was. So before anyone gets into saying that I caused this to myself, did this to myself, the doctor literally told me that it's something I was born with. It's a rare form of immune disease, and it first hit me like 4 years ago or so. Before my bodybuilding career, it happened when I was in university. I had a flare-up of it, and they had no idea what happened. That was a really long story. That was a crazy thing I went through. I was in the hospital for a while, bedridden, lost like 50 pounds, and that's its own story. But that happened a few years ago, and we didn't know what the problem was. I took some prednisone, got rid of it, and essentially they were like, yeah, let's hope this doesn't happen again. Walked away from that, no idea what happened. So it was pretty stressful having this thing that just flared up, put me in the hospital for a while, and we had no idea what the problem was. And then, so this story begins at about 7-8 weeks out this year. Right after my last guest posing, I was in LA for my sister's show. I was down there for a week, and I had been flying for about 10 weeks in a row prior to that. I got to LA, the weather was humid as hell. I was holding so much water in my ankles, I could push on them and it went in like an inch in my shins. I was so watery, I didn't know what was going on, so I blamed maybe my food was a little different, eating more sodium, flying like crazy, getting sick, whatever could have been happening. So I kind of pushed it away, didn't deal with it, just assumed it was the flying, and then got back to Canada the next week, and it had kind of stayed the same. And I mean, already at this point I should have gotten some checked out, but I was scared it was going to be something bad, obviously. So I kind of pushed it off. We started pushing the cardio more, took out some sodium out of my diet. I stopped flying for 2 weeks, and the water came down a little bit. My body started to respond okay, I guess. And then I had lost a bunch of weight from the diet, put on a bunch more. All of a sudden I woke up and I was like 5 pounds heavier, had a bunch of water in my shins again, and I was planning on going to see the doctor in a few days. And before I went to see the doctor, I went to a water park, was out in the sun all day, super dehydrated. Woke up the next day and had put on 15 pounds of just straight water. My ankles were swollen. Everything was like, looked like crap on me. All of a sudden I looked like I wasn't even dieting. So I went to a doctor, got some blood and urine tests done, and they immediately found there was a little bit of excess everything in my urine, and it wasn't looking good, but we were waiting for all the other results back. So I got some compression stockings, and I went and got like some simple diuretics from Popeye, the supplement store, and some supplements. And by the time I got home, my legs had swollen over the compression socks over my knee, and they were so big. I have a picture of it that's kind of freaky. I'll put it in here. But when I saw that, I was immediately like, okay, I need to do something. I was 4 weeks out at this point and looking like crap, like just a water buffalo. So I went to the emergency room at the hospital, It took me 8 hours to get in. So got there about 5 p.m. I think at like 1 a.m. in the morning I finally got in. They ran more tests, but they can look at the results quicker. And they found I had elevated levels of creatinine, elevated levels of protein. Nothing too crazy, no, nothing that like a bodybuilder in prep, it's kind of, you're always going to be a little bit elevated. But I did have a bunch of blood in my urine, which is not good. So that was kind of freaky. And so they decided it was probably something to do with my kidneys, and they kept me in the emergency room overnight on a stretcher, and I was supposed to do a kidney ultrasound the next day. And so the next day I go in for that, and I didn't eat anything, and then they told me to eat. They gave me a bunch of food, so I ate food, go in for the ultrasound, and they told me I wasn't allowed to eat, so I had to spend another night on a stretcher in the emergency room. And then finally they did that, got the ultrasound, and had to wait a day for the results for that. So I spent the third night in the emergency room lying on a stretcher, and those things are not comfortable, and I should not have been lying elevated on the stretcher, because all the water that had been pooling my legs was now pooling my lower back. And I swear to you, I could grab like a chunk of water if I had fat on my lower back. I had no butt because it was just like lower back filled with water down to my butt, and I could squeeze my hamstrings. It was terrifying, to be completely honest. And then they wanted to, so at this point they figured it was something to do with my kidneys, and I was obviously holding a lot of water, so they put me on IV Lasix, which is a very strong loop diuretic and flushes out potassium, sodium, just flushes water out of your body. So I started taking that through an IV, and they planned to do a kidney biopsy, so go in and cut out a piece of my kidney essentially, and then run tests on what's going on with that. So after that was planned, I finally got put into the actual hospital and got a bed in there. So they took me off a stretcher after the third night, and I was admitted into the hospital. I was there for one night, and then the following day, I guess it was, yeah, the following day I finally went in for the kidney biopsy, and that wasn't so bad. It was, they just went into my left side, in through the back right here. They put in like a long needle and slowly froze it close to my kidney, and then they put like a 16 gauge needle in with a little clip on the end, and it goes in, touches the tip of your kidney, and then it kind of shoots like a gun. It sounded exactly like a staple gun, and it's kind of the feeling of you get punched in the kidneys but no impact, so just like a like a weird feeling, but it wasn't so bad. A little freaky to have a long needle inside your kidney cutting something out, but they got that done. And then they wanted me to spend another night in the hospital. I don't know why. I was trying to get the hell out of there, and because I had to wait for the results. And then finally the next day, the doctor, the nephrologist, so the kidney specialist, comes in, and he says that they're going to send me home on Lasix, which is that diuretic I mentioned, as well as a medication that's supposed to help flow through my kidneys, because they were like inflamed, not like crazy, but relatively inflamed. And yeah, so they sent me home on that, and I had to wait 2 weeks to get the results for the biopsy. So at this point, I was 4 weeks out in the hospital, looking like crap, hadn't trained for 6 days, barely eaten anything, was eating like 3 meals a day that Ian and Melissa were bringing me, and I was sent home at 3 weeks out, looking like a bag of shit, not training, and had to wait 2 weeks to even get the results from this. So I was kind of sitting there like, obviously very discouraged, didn't know if I was going to be competing at all. For those who don't know me very well, I'm a very emotional person, so it's going to be hard for me to get through with a straight face, but because it was a really hard prep for me to get through. But I was sent home, and the doctor told me that nothing he assumed was bodybuilding related. I could go back to training, to ease into it, nothing too crazy, nothing too heavy, which we weren't doing anyway at 3 weeks out. So I got back from that, started taking the Lasix every day, and got back to training slowly. That was when I switched to my keto diet. One of the reasons I did it was to kind of help flush the water off, because keto diets can help that. And obviously I was behind. I had taken some, we didn't know if I was behind even, I was holding so much water, but I had taken time off the gym. I was eating less, but I was looking worse. So we threw me on the keto diet just to kind of lower the protein, which helps your kidneys. Less protein is better for the kidneys, and it was supposed to help flush some water off. So that was why we did keto. Felt like shit for that entire 2 weeks, like crap. I'll show you a video here too of my chest cramping. You take these Lasix and your body's electrolytes are so out of whack that I was cramping in my hands. I couldn't text at points training. After a hard leg day or chest day, I was like waking up in the middle of the night, my quads cramping. It was awful for the entire time. My training sucked, energy was awful, but kept pushing through it. And then honestly, the only thing that got me through this was Ian, and I haven't really talked about this out loud to anybody other than shit, so just voicing it. And I'm not crying because I'm sad or because I'm fucking pitying myself. I'm just so grateful that I made it through it and that I had my sister and Ian along the way. Like, honestly, every single morning I woke up and I was so discouraged with how I looked. Like, literally, like, losing weight. When you're flat, like when you're taking these diuretics and I'm still holding on to water, I literally was, like, people think you're flat. Tried, like, taking diuretics for 4 weeks straight, having nothing in your body, going so low carb, pushing cardio, pushing everything. And I did not practice posing this prep at all, to be completely honest. That's why I was like, my routine I didn't practice, because I was literally ashamed of myself when I looked in the mirror. I was so discouraged every day. Every single morning I woke up to a text from Ian and he was like, yo, send me your weight, send me a quick video of you posing, let's see how you look. He changed my diet like every day throughout the day, and like every single time he was like, you look better, man, we can get through this. Like, as long as the doctor gives you okay, we're gonna be fine. And same with my sister. Like, I didn't even have to tell her how I was feeling, but she just knew. She's literally, my sister's the person who knows me better than myself, so she can just kind of tell by my mannerisms and how different I'd been acting for 4 weeks that I was myself. And she was just, they were there for me 100% of the way. Literally the world's worst person to try and talk when I get emotional. But yeah, long story short, I wouldn't have made it through this prep without them. Every single day I was at their house, they were texting me, encouraging me, there for me along the way. And I really wouldn't have made it through without them. Okay, I need to stop talking about that and move on. So 2 weeks went by of this fucking hell of feeling like shit, training with just literally getting through the motions. I would come home and just lie down all day until it was time to work out. Get the workout out of the way, go home and fucking lie there and question if I should even be doing this to myself, if I should just give up. And finally, I got through the 2 weeks and went to see the doctor, and I had no idea what was going on at this point. If it wasn't going to be my kidneys or something, it would have been my heart. So something like that causing water is a lot worse than a kidney flare-up. But he determined from the biopsy I have a rare form of IgA disease, which is an immune system. So essentially my immune system is kind of attacking itself, and we figured out that's what happened 4 years ago or whatever, and it can flare up kind of at any time in your life. So stressors can cause it, like maybe if I was flying too much or I was getting sick, something attacked my body and it put too much stress on my immune system, that my immune system can't always respond to it properly, so it begins to attack itself and attack my internal organs and whatnot. So something I was born with, just kind of a shit immune system that forgets how to work sometimes, and it decided to flare up on me in the middle of my Olympia prep. And I was honestly kind of relieved when I heard that, because I finally knew what happened to me 4 years ago, which was a terrifying experience, and to finally learn what caused it was, I guess, good to hear, because now we can deal with it, we can manage it. So essentially he told me I had 3 options, and I could either keep taking the diuretics and kind of let it play out and see what happens, or they can put me on this corticosteroid called prednisone, which is an intense immune suppressant, and it kind of fucks your body up, and I have to take a really high dose because I'm a big guy, and that med really fucks you up. So I took it last time and I felt like shit. Gives you anxiety, causes you to put weight gain on. It can give you such bad acid reflux that you get ulcers, so I have to take more meds to stop myself from getting a stomach ulcer. And the third option is intense, like almost cancer therapy, where they just kind of burn everything up in your body, which I'm not willing to do, especially at my age. So I asked him, I was like, can I do an in between and wait 2 weeks, compete at my competition, see if I can even look decent, and then start the prednisone after that? And he said, yeah, that's fine. Like, I told him all about my bodybuilding, everything I'm doing, and he told me that that's not a cause, that won't make it any worse for the time being. He said 2 more weeks you'll be fine, get that over with, get home and get yourself right. So that was the goal. And after that, it was straight to work. Left that doctor's office, went to the gym, and it was game time, I guess. We had to start pushing it a lot more. Finally, we knew that I didn't have any crazy problem that was going to kill me. So we started pushing it more in the gym, pushing the diet even more. I was done with keto at that point. We put a little bit of carbs in, but still very low calorie, obviously, because I was looking like I was behind. It was so stressful trying to do this diet and prep, waking up every morning and not looking good. We were literally just waiting to try and flush this water out of me and pull it off on stage. So those last few weeks were just hell of dieting, cardio, hoping I'm lean and just trusting that my body underneath all this water is lean and it will show on stage. Sorry, I'm ranting. Like I said, it's hard to put my thoughts together. I was a little worried about the flying because he said flying is something I should be avoiding. So I'm trying to have no trips after this, no more planes. But I had to get there. I was too determined at this point that I got the okay. I was like, I went through all this shit. I'm gonna make it to the stage and see what happens. So we got there, kept taking the diuretics the prescription diuretics that I got. Even making weight, it made weight crazy hard because obviously water is a lot of weight. But finally we made weight. I weighed in at 228 pounds. I probably should have been like 224 with how lean I thought I was. And that night I doubled up on the prescription diuretic that they gave me to help flush some more water out. And that was a terrifying night because I went to bed not looking too great. When I put a little bit more carbs in my body, I went up to like 236 pounds and I was not as lean as I knew I need to be. So I kind of went to bed like just fingers crossed, praying it would flush out of me overnight. And a lot of it did. I woke up the next morning feeling okay. I knew I didn't look 100% and my body was still like, I could kind of squish some water in my hamstrings. I'd go down to my shins and I could push it out. I have a video backstage with my tan, everything, right before going on stage, pushing on my shins and still having a film of water there. Even everything we did, the water cut, the prescription diuretics, it wasn't enough to get it off my body. My lower stomach was one of the worst. When I was in the hospital even, I had like a pool of water right here. So obviously these are locations that my body holds water a lot, hamstrings, stomach. And so people who've made the comments like, oh Chris, your legs aren't as crisp, your abs aren't as crisp. Well, yeah, no shit. I didn't want to say anything before, but yeah, they were not nearly as crisp as they have been or as they should have been because, well, circumstances did not allow it to happen. So honestly, the scariest part of almost all of this was prejudging. I normally walk on stage, at least lately, with kind of a swagger and a confidence, and I was backstage pumping up, looking at myself. I tried to hit an ab and thigh in the mirror and I just knew I didn't look crisp like I normally did. I didn't look how I had envisioned myself being able to look this prep because I had made a lot of improvements over the year and I was just excited to show it, but I knew I wasn't there. So when I stepped on stage, I was fucking terrified. I go out there and I remember hitting one pose and then turning to do a side chest and my legs were shaking like this. Like I literally was expecting to look at the crowd and everyone would, like, I had a lot of fucking people waiting to come out and see how I was gonna do. I will admit that. And I was scared I was gonna look out there and people were just gonna be like, the fuck did this guy do? Like, he fucked his shit up. He looks like crap, you know? So my confidence wasn't there because I wasn't confident in how I looked. I don't know. I just thought I was gonna come out and place 10th, not look like crap. So I was terrified. I hit a few poses, made myself relax, convinced myself you're here, you're on stage, just fucking enjoy it. Keep doing it. and I relaxed a little bit, confidence came back a bit, and then we did the first call outs and they called me out there, and I was a little shocked. I was like, okay, fuck yeah, we're in here, we're still in here. And then they did our first comparisons, and they brought me and Breon back to the back of the stage, which essentially they always do for the top two. And I'm not gonna lie to you, at that moment right there, I was done. I was like, I had already won in my mind. I'm fucking crying like forever, and now I can't even talk on this goddamn camera. Ugh. But yeah, when they called us back and it was kind of like your top two, Chris, I had won right there. I was like, holy shit, I can't believe we pulled this off. Like, the shit I went through in this prep mentally. Well, I walked off stage and my whole family, they snuck behind the security, and they were all waiting there. And I remember my sister just looked at me and she just started bawling. And I was still kind of like smiling, walking around, was talking to some of the guy that looked at her. I was like, why are you crying? And I asked her why she was crying, and I knew why. And I just started fucking bawling backstage. I looked over at Ian. Even Ian was crying. Fucking big tough Ian had tears in his eyes, and I lost it. They had fucking cameras on me too. I was like, get away from me. Film, like, I think it was AMI. Whoever was filming the Olympia had their cameras on me. I had just tears running down my face, and it was just a really emotional moment. No one around us knew what we had been through. I mean, terrified I was never going to compete again, never going to be able to keep doing this. I think Ian said it first, it's nothing short of a miracle. I can't even think of that backstage moment. It's too emotional. After that, we went to the night show, and I had so much pressure kind of off my shoulders. I was just chilling at this point. I was like, fuck it. We made it. Given the circumstances, things literally could not have gone any better. And then finally my panic settled in that I hadn't practiced my posing or my routine or anything, and I was like, shit. So I picked my song like the week before. It was a song I love and I know, with Heart, What About Love, which is very fitting. And put my headphones in, listened to it, made the routine up in my head, and kind of was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna wing it on stage. Went out there, did the routine, it was okay. I think some people didn't notice I wung it. Other people knew I kind of was standing there trying to think of a pose to hit, but we got through it. It was fine, and ended up second place. I think Ian said it when we told a few people kind of what was going on that were close to us, and I think Ian said, as a coach, estimating how I looked, he said I was probably at 80% of my best. So to come in and still push through this shit at 80% was absolutely crazy. And I want to be the first one to say this right now, that I don't want any fucking bullshit speculation about that I could have won with or without this. It happened, period. I could have come in at 100% and I still would have lost. I still would have come second. Breon was on. He deserved that win, period. And there's no point in speculating what could have or would have happened. I'm happy with my second place. Grateful that I even made it onto the stage and wasn't a complete embarrassment. Even though some of the pictures I'm like cringing, but I'm still grateful for that. But I want to like push that on everybody, that regardless of what happened, this isn't an excuse at all for why I came second, because I'm very happy I came second. And the truth is, I could have showed up at 100% and still lost. Like I said, we don't know what could have happened because it didn't happen. All we know is what happened now, and next year I'm going to show up 100% and I'm coming for that W, so that's all that matters. Like I said, I don't want to share the story as an excuse. I feel like a lot of people might be able to connect to something like this, or they might be going through something similar. And if it can help anybody get through some shit, then goal. If it can help one person kind of push through some shit that they might be going through, doesn't have to be fucking illness, doesn't have to be bodybuilding. Everyone's got shit that they go through that kind of they bury down and they don't tell anybody about. And I learned firsthand that the most important part of getting through the shit is the people you have around you. To have a good support system, people who believe in you when you're at rock bottom. And yeah, I guess that's the story of my 2018 Olympia prep. And fucking hell was it a shocker. A lot of days where I was ready to give up, but we made it. Also, now I'm hitting these meds, this prednisone, so I'm gonna be a grumpy mess on these. They give you kind of anxiety and a bunch of shitty side effects. I'm gonna lower my protein by like a quarter, so be eating like 3 ounces a meal. I actually haven't been eating any meat since I've been back. I did a juice cleanse one day, just had nothing but a bunch of veggie juices and all that. So I'm gonna get nice and skinny, but health comes first. Another point I really want to press is if you see something going wrong with your body, especially as bodybuilders, we put ourselves through a lot. Get your shit checked out. Get your regular blood work. Get your urine test. Go in and you see your doctor regular like you should. Probably more if you're competing. And just make sure, don't push it off. Like, I pushed it off a few weeks and finally went in. But I could have gone in earlier, and maybe I could have dealt with this at 8 weeks out instead of 3 weeks out. And everything could have been a lot different. But I mean, we're all human. I was terrified to hear that it was going to be something worse than it was. So I waited till it got worse to actually do something about it. But I mean, do what they say, not what they do. I learned from my mistakes. At this point in my life now, I'm going to have checkups regularly, because even though the meds I'm taking put into remission, it is a disease I was born with, and it will not go away. There's no cure for it, so essentially I just have to keep an eye out for flare-ups. But it could have been a hell of a lot worse. So I'm grateful that I'm here. I'm grateful that it's something I can deal with. It really makes me appreciate just everything I have and the people around me and the success in my life. I've never been a why me person when something bad happens to me. I'm more of a like, yeah, I got a fucking good life. Here's something to deal with. Let's get through it and let's get over it. Let's deal with it. You got a good life. Be grateful for everything else you have going on. I still have my health at the end of the day. I know I will get better from this. Just a hiccup, something I had to go through, so that's that. But these things really do open your eyes and make you appreciate just everything. Okay, I can't talk anymore. That's the end of this video. You see another side of me that not many people do, but now I guess everyone does. The emotional sebum. I've never been an angry person, more of a cry person, so there it is. Hopefully this video made sense, and if anyone else is going through some shit, you want to message me, I'll try and check through my DMs and reply to anyone I can. But if anyone wants to reach out and kind of tell me their story, what they're going through, or ask me more questions about what I'm going through, then I'll appreciate that. I'll definitely keep an eye out for anybody, help out whatever I can. And yeah, sorry you had to see my ugly cry swollen face for like 20 minutes. I don't even know how long this is going to be. But that's it. Goodbye.